The early innovators in the business were gamblers. I mean, you had to be a gambler to be in the lettuce business. It was strictly a roll of the dice.
They all were cats. They had 9 lives.
Back then, it was a much more, I would say, friendly industry.
They were all very unique. There were no two alike.
People here were colorful. They were colorful.
The 1920s marked the emergence of the produce industry in the Salinas Valley.
My family started in the valley in 1926. My grandfather got into the lettuce business.
My grandfather, Bruce Church, was second generation California. Moved to Salinas when he was a young boy and started in the lettuce business in the 1920s.
Stephen and Andrew Dorigo, which were my grandfather and his brother, came over from Italy in about the early 1920s. And they came to California and started growing and shipping fresh vegetables and shipping them to the East Coast.
From the very beginning, they were packing pioneers. Lettuce became the key crop. Packing sheds were built. Lettuce from the fields was trimmed there and packed in pine crates that held 48 heads. Shaved ice was shoveled on top, so these were called the ice pack days.
We started with a wooden crate back in the 20s, and that was back in the ice pack days. The crates were 85 pounds to 100 pounds, and they were back-breaking things to handle. But at the time, everything had to have its own ice and have its own refrigeration, so it was really the only way to ship product all the way across the country.
In the early 20s, ice-cooled cars known as bunkers became available.
Bunker ice car came into being in the lettuce business about 1923. It consisted of a railroad car with bunkers on each end, which they dumped 300-pound blocks of ice in through the top. And then in addition, when the car was loaded with crates, they blew crushed ice over the top of the load.
In the 1930s, a dozen ice plants were operating, like Growers Ice, founded by Bruce Church. Together, the plants produced thousands of tons of ice per day. Now, produce could be shipped long distances and still arrive fresh. The 1930s also brought a proliferation of new crops to the Salinas Valley: carrots and spinach, celery, cauliflower, and broccoli.
We started the broccoli business. We were the pioneers. It was actually very popular over in Italy, but it was really not known in America yet. So we started growing it here in California and shipping it east in rail cars with ice, and that was how the broccoli business got started.
In 1933, a low-sided field trailer was developed to allow fresh-cut heads of lettuce to be easily tossed inside. Then, a new kind of field truck was introduced with wider axles to span 2 lettuce beds of 40 inches each. This truck and the mobile field conveyor elevator made way for a basket system that enabled lettuce to be moved more efficiently from the field to the shed. The 1940s and World War II brought more women to work in the packing sheds. Overall, a severe farm labor shortage developed throughout the valley. The biggest packing development of the late 40s was the innovation called vacuum cooling.
Of course, during the war, the status quo remained, the old system of packing in the sheds, etc. But in 1947, Brunsing, a man by the name of Brunsing, invented the vacuum cooler. And that really revolutionized the lettuce industry. It meant that they could go field pack instead of shed pack. And it meant the end of the sheds.
The original vacuum cooler for the experiment held 16 crates. This technology continued to advance. By 1950, the vacuum cooler became the preferred method of cooling lettuce, and the tons of ice were no longer needed for shipping.
Now, as the railroads developed, they went from the old ice bunker cars, they started developing mechanical cars in the 1950s. And the mechanical car was a big refrigerator. That also was a big step in addition to vacuum cooling of allowing us to go from crates to cartons.
Another major change in packing was the replacement of standard, heavy wooden lettuce crates. Instead, 24 heads were placed in smaller, lightweight cartons, making them easier to handle. The cartons were made of corrugated linerboard.
The fiberboard carton was invented by Bud Annell about 1950. The reason that it was successful is that since the vacuum cooling didn't require ice, they could use paper cartons without the carton falling apart. So the two went together, vacuum cooling and the carton invention.
Mobile packing machines were developed for the field, eliminating the need for packing sheds. And long-haul trucks began to replace the railroad for shipping produce back east.
It was just not practical to get rail cars to the places they had to get to. And the long-haul trucker became the mode of transportation for us.
The first attempt to pack vegetables in a cello film wrap was the pioneering change of the 1950s. Film-wrapped lettuce proved successful, and in the 60s, this became the first widespread effort at value-added packaging.
Palletization started not too far behind the wrapped lettuce, and that's been one of the most important things that happened, was putting produce on pallets. Putting 40 boxes on a pallet and then dealing with the pallet instead of the 40 boxes over and over and over. Doesn't seem like much, but that was very, very important. And then in about 1970, we started producing salads.
The bag lettuce concept was enhanced into bags of ready-to-eat salads. These became available in family or restaurant-sized packages.
People think of the packaged salad business as just a lucky break that one or two producers happened upon. The truth is, it was really the result of almost 30 years of continual effort and failures until people were able to achieve a successful product.
The packaging that we used in 1981, 82, and 83 when we first tried these products, the bags were very thick, they were not breathable, and then over the years that film has progressed where it's gotten more permeable.
Cartons of varying sizes and shapes were developed to accommodate shipping all the new products. The 90s ushered in a new wave of innovations. Broccoli packing became more mechanized.
Originally, each carton had to be hand-iced, and which was very labor-intensive. Now, as the cartons are palletized into one unit, the entire unit goes into what's called an ice injector or clamshell, and we ice inject a slurry mix into the product, and so each box gets an equal amount of ice.
Bulk containers of vacuum-cooled lettuce are now shipped to regional plants and processed there for added freshness. Cello bags are used for even greater diversity, and for some salads, condiments are included. Another major development of the decade was the large cold room, where produce is kept refrigerated at a constant temperature of 34 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit until shipped.
The industry has been a succession of packing pioneers, and you always are pressed to continue to innovate. It makes the industry incredibly dynamic.
For more than 80 years, Salinas Valley growers and shippers have been the packing pioneers. Decade to decade, and continuing into the new century, they've invented, improved, and ingeniously developed a continuum of packing innovations so that the Valley's year-round harvests can be shipped and enjoyed fresh daily around the globe.